So there's this guy named Tobit. He lives in Nineveh. Yes, that Nineveh, where the prophet Jonah gets, swallowed by a giant fish. Well, this is during the Assyrian captivity around 722 BC, when the northern kingdom of Israel was conquered by the Assyrians and deported for, you guessed it, not keeping Yah's commandments. So Tobit is in exile, and he's forced to live under an empire where obedience to the Torah is strictly forbidden by the Assyrians, and Israelites are killed regularly and left dead in the streets as a form of psychological terror and humiliation. But Tobit, he's faithful to Yah, and he refuses to compromise his law. He keeps the dietary laws, he keeps the Sabbath, he even goes out at night and buries dead Israelites. Yes, it's illegal, it's dangerous, and it's punishable by death. But because Yah commands that the land not be defiled by unburied bodies, he risks his life in order to be obedient. Now, his life runs on one principle: trust Yah and do what's right. One night, he's out burying dead bodies, which he's not supposed to be doing, and for some reason, he decides to take a rest, and while he's doing that, bird droppings fall directly into his eyes, and it blinds him. And I'm not talking about just like he can't see at that moment. I'm talking about put his hand in front of his face, can't see. He's really blind. Now, he has a wife. Her name is Anna. And now that Tobit is blind, well, Anna is forced to she has to work, and she's forced to take on a lot of responsibility by herself. She becomes a sole breadwinner. And as you expect, she becomes exhausted carrying all the weight alone. One day, unbeknownst to Tobit, her employer gives her a goat as payment. When she arrives home, Tobit hears the goat, and he accuses her of stealing it. When she tries to explain, he doesn't believe her. So he's blind, humiliated, and broken. And now he doesn't even think he can trust his own wife. So Anna snaps. She unloads on him. And she says, "Where's your God now, Tobit? You kept covenant, you did everything right, and what did it get you?" That night, Tobit, he hit rock bottom. And he prays to Yah to let him die. Here's one notable fact that is so important to the story. 22 years prior to this, before they were forced into exile, Tobit was actually a pretty wealthy guy. He loaned a man from Media, his name is Gabal, 10 silver talents. Now, 10 silver talents may not sound like a lot, but in actuality, 1 talent is 75 pounds of silver, which means Tobit loaned this guy 750 pounds of silver. We're talking millions of dollars. So he calls on his son Tobias. Oh, by the way, Tobit has a son. His name is Tobias. So he sends his son Tobias, his only son, into the unknown, all the way back to Media, to collect a 22-year-old debt from a man he's never met and frankly doesn't even know if he's still alive or what to expect when he gets there. I mean, can you imagine showing up at someone's door and saying, "Hi, my name is Tobias, and you owe my dad like millions of dollars from 2 decades ago. Time to pay up." Meanwhile, back in Nineveh, Anna, she's beside herself. She's already lost her husband to blindness, and the thought of losing her only son, well, it's destroying her. So on the way to Media, there's a city called Ecbatana, and within that city is a beautiful woman named Sarah. She comes from a really good family, and she's a very godly woman. But everyone in the community, well, they think she's cursed. You see, she's had 7 weddings with 7 different men, but after every wedding, like before consummation, all 7 of her husbands have mysteriously died on their wedding night. So the city is whispering, and a lot of people believe that a demon named Asmodeus has targeted her and is killing all of her husbands. Now, Sarah knows her parents are ashamed of her, and believe it or not, on the same night that Tobit is praying to Yah to take his life, Sarah is also praying the same prayer: to die. So you got 2 strangers, 2 different cities, both people at rock bottom praying the same prayer, and Yah hears them. Unbeknownst to the both of them, help is already on its way. Enter Azariah. Remember, Tobias is on his way out of the city to go collect his father's debt. and he meets Azariah at the city gates. Azariah says, hey, I need to work. I know the way, and I know the man Gabal that owes your father money. Tobias is beside himself. He's like, great, this is perfect. I need a guide, so you're hired. So they're traveling together, and they get a little bit down the road and decide to take a break at the Tigris River. And Tobias, he's refreshing himself, wading in the water, and all of a sudden, a giant fish jumps out of the water and tries to attack him. As he's fighting this fish, he can hear Azariah in the distance calling out to him, catch the fish, remove its heart, its liver, and its gallbladder. It's going to be useful to us. Tobias is so confused, but he trusts Azariah and he's like, yeah, great idea. So he blindly follows his weird instructions. Now, they eventually arrive to Ecbatana, where Sarah, the unfortunate maiden, lives. Azariah tells Tobias about Sarah and informs him that she's actually his kinswoman, and according to Torah, he should be her rightful and appointed husband. Aw, that is so sweet. I just love that. Now remember, this woman, everybody says, is cursed by a demon named Asmodeus. But Azariah, with all of his wisdom, explains to Tobias, hey, remember the organs from the giant fish that I told you to remove? And Tobias is like, yeah. Like, how could I possibly forget? So Azariah explains to Tobias that on the wedding night, before consummation, he is to burn the fish heart and liver like incense. Then he's to pray to Yah because obedience comes before union. Tobias really doesn't know what to think about all of this, but he trusts Azariah. After all, he's proven himself to be a wise man thus far. So he does everything exactly as instructed. Meanwhile, Sarah's father is terrified, and he has every reason to believe that Tobias will be husband number 8 on a growing list of his daughter's casualties. I mean, he's seen 7 grooms die at this point. So while the wedding night unfolds, he has his servants secretly digging a grave for Tobias because he believes Tobias won't survive the wedding night. But the next morning, his servant checks the room and he reports to the father that they are alive. So he fills the grave and a 2-week celebration follows. For the first time, Sarah is free, she's alive, married without tragedy, and the demon has finally fled. So Tobias and Azariah, they finish their journey along with Sarah. They get to Media and surprisingly collect the 22-year debt without a problem. That's mainly because Hebrews kept perfect records of their debts. They were considered to them like covenants. So Gabriel honored their covenant and even rejoices when he sees Tobias and sent him back with additional gifts. So let's break this down. Since Sarah was considered unmarriable due to everyone thinking that she was cursed, and the impending death was sure to fall on anyone who tried to marry her, Tobias received a generous dowry from her father. He also collected the debt from Gabriel and received additional gifts on top of that. So needless to say, Tobias was returning home with an unbelievable amount of wealth. Meanwhile, back in Nineveh, Tobit is still blind. He's been waiting for what seems like forever in complete darkness. And Anna, well, she's been overworked and trying to sustain them both, and she's absolutely frantic with grief because she thinks her son is dead. So when Tobias and Azariah finally show up, you can imagine how overwhelmed with joy they were. I mean, just to see their long-lost son, who they presume was dead, was enough to lift both their spirits out of a rut. But when they learned he returned with all that wealth and a new wife, they were absolutely elated. But the blessings don't stop there for this family. I mean, their faith has been tested beyond belief, and they've still remained obedient to the Most High and His law. When Tobias sees his father Tobit, Azariah says, hey, rub that fish gall on your father's eyes, and it'll heal him. Tobias does so, and bam, Tobit can see again. So, the blind man who was praying to die just a few months ago, now he sees his son's face. Sarah, who everyone thought was cursed and who also prayed to die, is now free and married to a faithful and not to mention an extremely rich man. Anna, previously tasked with hard labor, financial struggles, and fear that her son was dead, is finally able to embrace her son, and she can retire and look forward to grandkids. Now here comes the twist. Azariah gathers them all together, and he says to them, "My name is not Azariah. I am an archangel named Raphael, one of the 7 angels who stand before the glory of the Most High Yah." And just like that, Azariah/Raphael, the archangel, was suddenly gone, and Tobias realized that he had been traveling with an angel the entire time. So here's the truth. 2 people hit rock bottom. Both prayed to die, both felt forgotten, but Yah, he had already sent help before they even prayed. And sometimes your breakthrough is already in motion. You just can't see it. And scripture tells us that we may have entertained angels. So be good to everyone. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you next time.